Hello everyone, it's me, OneGamer4, back in another video, and today we finished this little 3-part mini-series of mine where I review all of Game Theory's FNAF timeline videos, and we end it all with the most controversial part yet. I mean, I can see the flames from my window alone, and that's just not saying that because it's hot in this room. But anyways, I can already see there are many two sides of this community. One that views MatPat as an absolute god who solved all of it. And there are ones who think that MatPat has finally lost its marbles. I have lots to say about this timeline, and I even made mention of it last time. So let's get this over with. Because as much as I love game theory, and I do, I need to work on other stuff. Like other original stuff than just riding on MatPat's success. Like maybe continue the Fazbear Frights read-throughs, or Tales from the Pizzaplex, or review some other media like the Mario movie or Scooby-Doo. But I'm just getting ahead of myself. Let's start. Let's just go over the stuff that isn't affecting anyone, / what's currently confirmed, because this video, man, Lord have mercy. We already know that that is confirmed that Vanessa was clearly pushed to the lead security guard by a higher up despite not having any background or experience on the field. FNAF AR only exists to get Remnant worldwide instead of waiting for a birthday to happen. Sorry, Funtime Animatronics. The Mega Pizzaplex was built on top of the remains of FNAF 6 on purpose. Michael Afton is somehow connected to Glamrock Freddy, regardless if it's metaphorically, possession-wise, or just programmed to be that way. But symbolically, Glam Dad and Michael are connected. And last and unfortunately not least, and I dread these words, Gregory is patient 46, and you have no one to blame but the latest books for that one, folks. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to the meat in this video. Because there are 3 claims that Part 4 offers that had people pick up their pitchforks and torches. And we're going to be tackling those claims. Claim number 1, Charlie Emily, Henry's daughter and the soul that possesses the puppet, has now possessed the Mega Pizzaplex itself. Claim number 2 is that Gregory is a robot and connected to the crying child, aka him being a roboticized crying child. And claim number 3, which is the one that I dread most, is that Mrs. Afton is the new CEO of the new era of Fazbear Entertainment and is solely responsible for the creation of Glitch Trap and the tragedies that follows this new era of FNAF that we are all in. We're going to go over these claims at a time, compare the evidence that supports or debunks them, and see where we leave off. We're going to start with claim number 1, Charlie possessing the Pizzaplex. I got no anger towards this claim because it's one of those newer ones that I don't really mind so much because, like, I just don't mind it. Like, it's new. It's something interesting for once. But I know a lot of people don't like this claim, so I have to talk about it. I have to talk about this, guys. So, I feel like MatPat took a bit creativity from FNAF, or I guess his name was John. I don't know if we're going on first name basis here, but yeah, he did a FNAF who is a great and talented FNAF theorist out there, and I recommend you check out his channel. He made a video regarding Charlie, although his theory was more so of a Charlie bot roaming around security breach. But he did start off the whole Charlie being in security breach bit. Anyways, we'll just put FNAF's content into things to react to the future. Let's go over the evidence to see that if Henry's daughter is possessing an entire mall. The first one is a bit on the nose, and it's the Nightmare Stuff Bots, with somewhat the same jump scare noise Nightmare On makes in FNAF 4. There's also plushies of Nightmare On hiding and chilling everywhere in the Pizzaplex. Lastly but not least, there are black and white wires around the Pizzaplex that look familiar to the limbs of the puppet. And there was that dang door that leads to that sticky note room that Map had called out to be in the files, and it was named Charlie Door. Which is crazy because I never once thought of that. Plus, in a way, a theory could be cooked up to the sticky notes that we see in there. Is Charlie trying to teach something or someone to think for themselves? Maybe a Greg bot for MatPat's side, or a Charlie bot for FNAF's side. There are other things going in this theory as it makes sense story-wise. After FNAF 6 closed the chapter of the past era of FNAF, Cassidy will be staying in the afterlife from here on out, torturing the real William Afton. But in the real world, a new evil has emerged, and it's a digital copy of William Afton. So who's going to pick up the call? But Charlie. Charlie will be the one who will pick up the call. Charlie will spend the rest of her life taking down this evil man, and since her father was the one who finally put down the real William Afton, she will take down the digital one. As they always say, like father, like daughter. So that's proving for Team Yes. So let's go over the evidence for Team No. Although this was changed later on, so I'm not sure if I can use this for Team No. But originally, the game files for the Princess and Princess Quest was named as Cassidy, which was hinting that Cassidy was back from the dead to drag William Afton back to the torture office. Another issue is that the wires that look like Puppet's arms and legs means that she's controlling the mall? I mean, yes, but actually, no. I mean, they were pretty much described in Tales in the Pizzaplex number 5, The Storyteller, which I will do a review on that, don't worry. But I just don't think that's a claim for Charlie's influence if one of the stories kind of describes it. Whew, I gotta take a big breath. I know, these awkward pauses, man. I don't like them. Alrighty then. So I kind of put two sides for each. So what do I think? And do I like this theory or do I hate this theory? I will say that in all due respect, that even though a Charlie robot doing Afton's bidding and we get an evil Emily than a good one would make a good story to see unfold, I don't think it would be making sense currently. I mean, yes, there are robot kids running around, as much as we hate that. But bringing a Charlie robot would come out of nowhere because we don't have any instances where a Charlie robot could be out there. At least if Gregory was a robot, we all know where he could be. He could be at William's bunker at sister location on the loose. Plus, seeing a kid possessing a mall than a robot just sounds crazy and epic that you can't just pass that up. Plus, what's the reason for those Nightmare On plushies chilling around the Pizzaplex if Charlie was not involved? What, they're Easter eggs? You could have just easily just put the old generation plushies around the place. Plus, it's a tale's old as time for spirits possessing the place where they died. And the Pizzaplex is built over FNAF 6 location, where Charlotte was finally put to rest. Overall, with the combination of the Nightmare plushies scattered around the Pizzaplex with the Nightmare staff bots that look like nightmarish versions of the puppet, I got no choice but to be on Team Yes on this one. It's like Charlie's spirit is leaking out and getting everywhere in the Pizzaplex for for as like how dare you put this mall over my resting place? She's just putting everyone on notice that she's still here. All right, claim number 2, and let me just grab my water for this one. Claim number 2. Gregory, you are a robot. I need a drink on this one, lads. Because, oh boy. Alright, let's just get this over with. Evidence for Gregory, the robot kid, are the weird vision glitch effect that we get if Vanny is close by. Freddy saying, I feel you are broken, instead of, hurt or, bleeding is fine too. As well as the posting room where a robot child could live out and try to learn like Matt had said over many past theories regarding security breach. I guess we can throw the themes of a robot replica that we got in Sister Location as well as a deep dive in the OG novels. Throw the rest of the story of Fazbear Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex in there. Because why not? We gotta have more stories about something pretending to be a kid in these stories. Let's not forget William's promise too to Crying Child as he died. I will put you back together. Alright. Now that we got that out, let's debunk this whole robot child theory. The OG line that Glamrock Freddy was supposed to say was, I feel you are bleeding, but I wouldn't say this confirms it for 2 reasons. One, it was changed and not in the final game, since we got broken instead of bleeding. And that could be because of the ESRB rating, since it's rated T for teens for fantasy violence being the reason. But it could also be reason number 2. Robot kids in the FNAF universe, or rather the expanded universe as in the books, are shown to bleed like normal humans because Charlie bleeds a lot in the books. Overall, there isn't much evidence to claim Gregory is a robot, because in some ways there are human explanations for it. I guess we do need to talk about Vanny, do we? We do need to talk about Vanny. Alright, so how can I explain the weird visual effects whenever she's close by? I mean, I suppose theoretically it's a game visual representation of a migraine. I mean, if Vanny is using a sound distortion device, I mean, she appeared blurry in the cameras, and unless you are Roxanne Wolf, the animatronics don't see Vanny. But Gregory and we can see her. We and Gregory can see her. Now, if we look at the novels, there is an earpiece in Silver Eyes that Charlie used to hide from the animatronics by having it play some sort of sound that messes up their sensors. And all that. All in all, I do not think that there is nearly as much evidence to get to the Gregbot train. I don't know. Maybe a new book could help me. Maybe the new book that MatPat was calling out, like Chapter 5, GGY, will probably make me rethink this. But as of right now, I'm calling cap on Gregory being a robot. Alright, we got 0.1 for yes for the theory, and 0 no for the theory. It's a neck and neck tie. And the final claim will decide all. Let me just check what it is, and yep, I want to put my computer down. Claim number 3. Mrs. Afton is the CEO of Fazbear Entertainment and is the one who caused these new incidents that we will now see unfold in the new years of FNAF. Look, I usually give MatPat the benefit of a doubt and agree to whatever he said because I really, really look up to him. But when it comes to this theory, all right, let's get this over with because this is a theory that's gonna make me talk the longest. So I might as well just sit down. Let me just see if the video is still recording. Yes, it's very much well. Might as well sit down for this one, boys and girls. There is no evidence whatsoever that Mrs. Afton could be CEO. And maybe it was a gut feeling or somewhat, or maybe he got into the storytelling just a bit too much that he add Mrs. Afton in there. But before we can continue, I will say there is some stuff that defends this theory with compelling evidence. So let's just pour it on the table right now. The first piece of evidence is Michael's Afton's favorite show, The Immortal and the Restless. I know it sounds random, but Michael seems to relate to Clara. Maybe because Michael is frustrated that no one believes him about everything that goes on, or maybe Clara reminds him of his mom. The second and the more stronger piece of evidence is the mock Afton family that we see in that post-it room we just talked earlier in this video, where a female robot, a female mother, is head of the table, while a male robot, William Afton, is taking the back seat. I mean, no offense for the ladies watching, but Mrs. Afton hasn't been important at all to the story. So it's weird that she's taking the seat of most power when William and his entire actions are felt across the entire FNAF franchise. I mean, it sounds good on paper, but we have zero mentions of Mrs. Afton being in the games. We just know she has to exist because William has 3 kids. So unless all the Afton kids are adopted, it's possible that William had insane reasons in the past to pick up ladies. I mean, don't get me wrong. How she becomes CEO in theory makes sense, but I mean, okay, she was married to William, but since Henry and William are dead, the assets go to her? Wouldn't it be the same case for Mrs. Emily, Henry's wife, or heck, Sammy Emily? I mean, yes, bias being biased. I mean, I did make a theory on where Sammy Emily, Henry's son, could become canon just like his father and take over the role of CEO of Fazbear Entertainment and doing this out of spite against his father. I will put I'll put a link in the description box below so you guys can watch my theory about Sammy Emily. But we have a named CEO in the books, Mr. Burroughs from Storyteller. God, my head hurts from this statement. So, here, let's just go over the fact what this new CEO has done so far. And we go over the facts to see if this can help us figure out if Game Theory has the money or has MatPat gone crazy. Fazbear Entertainment wanted to bring back and relaunch the brand, but couldn't because all the IP of the dead children on their belts. So they start clearing their names by hiring a random indie dev to make a bunch of games and poke fun of light of what happened in the past. Then they went on further by making a VR game that puts more nails in that coffin. To maybe make it more authentic, or whatever the reason may be, they scanned the motherboards from the old animatronics to perfectly capture the way they moved from back when. Some time passes and they made an AR special delivery. And finally we end up now with Mega Pizzaplex that is built on top of the FNAF 6 pizzeria. They even forced Vanessa in a position where she had no skills to qualify for her role. That's all we know about this mysterious CEO in games, but there is something that bugs me. Glitch Trap wouldn't have happened if Fazbear Entertainment hadn't scanned the motherboards of those robots. But they did! And I mean, I know they're shady as heck, but this feels too sinister even for them. Almost like someone wanted this. They wanted Glitch Trap to happen. Like someone was by William's side since the beginning. Heck, maybe even more so than VR. This just feels like Mrs. Afton. I mean, she's literally married to the fool and had 3 babies with him. But there comes a big issue with her, age-wise. A lot of people, myself included, think and said out loud that it couldn't be Mrs. Afton because she would be too old, and even question if she would be alive at this point. I mean, people could argue Mrs. Afton could be the same age as William. Okay, sure. Let's put Mrs. Afton in the same age as William when he opened up his business. Let's say 20 years in 1970 and or maybe 20 and a half. If security breach were to take place in 1930s, cuz don't tell me we're not in the future right now, we could be seeing an 80-year-old widow as CEO. Yes, I know that's a lot, but honestly, being an 80-year-old CEO isn't out of the reality. And I mean, she isn't doing any heavy lifting, so I mean, there is that. But is this really clear cut? We know little to know nothing about the CEO, just like Mrs. Afton. So literally, it's just combining the two. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if it's true, but I mean, we could have had an angry Emily, Sammy, to be the one to call the shots, and in his anger, he accidentally brought William Afton to life. I mean, Mrs. Afton brings back William Afton because of what? He was the one who helped bring their beautiful children to the world? I mean, yeah, you could say that, but then you forget that he didn't spend time with his remaining kids that were still alive. And that's why she left him. I also just don't see Mrs. Afton being okay with causing mass killings with the special delivery app in AR. Just to bring back her kids? I mean, could be able to make Gregory. Yeah, I guess, if the theory is led to believe, but everything else, I just don't know about that. So unless there's reports coming out that Mrs. Afton is just as cuckoo crazy as William Afton, and that William Afton and Mrs. Afton and William Afton are the Joker and Harley Quinn of this universe, I just don't know if Mrs. Afton will be like this. Now let's talk about someone we do know about, Mr. Burroughs. Also, is the next section is going to be talking about the story he debuts in. So this is your massive spoiler warning for the storyteller. So if you don't want to be spoiled, come back later when you read it or just skip a bit. Alright. Right away upon reading the book, there are some similarities between Mr. Burroughs and Mr. William Afton. Both men like to wear a closet worth of clothes that are the same shade of purple. The fact that Mr. Burroughs is a play on name for a rabbit pun, since rabbits live inside burrows, and William has an obsession with rabbits. It makes too much sense for Mr. Burroughs to be some sort of stand-in for William Afton, or he could just be a slave, like Vanny, and I guess Gregory, since MatPat kind of made it seem like Gregory worked with his evil old dad before Gregory decided to turn face on everyone. Or so we think. Is Mr. Burroughs really a slave or a cult member for William Afton because I refuse to make the cult of Afton die? Or is this telling us ourselves what he is? Sure, Mr. Burroughs has the same demeanor as William, but he's also described to be a greedy or money hungry. He's either greedy or money hungry, like Mr. Krabs. Mr. Burroughs is the type of guy to become rich by any means necessary, but he never really behaves like a villain, also like Mr. Krabs. There's also one big difference between these two men. William, to his inner core, loves the animatronics and Freddy's. He loves them. He likes Freddy's like it's the world to him. Mr. Burroughs, meanwhile, hates Freddy's. He thinks Freddy's are stupid. He only bought the darn franchise because to make a profit. The whole story about Storyteller is that he literally was disrespectful to the creative team, fired said team, and replaced them with an AI. Just saying, if William and Mr. Burroughs are sharing the same room, oh nah, Burroughs is never coming out alive because William would have shanked him. William would have killed him. So without all that being said, could we be seeing Mr. Burroughs making his debut in the games by the time Security Breach Ruin comes out? I mean, yeah, I think. Mr. Burroughs would understandably not be able to make a profit with how Freddy's IP is, with all those tragedies like the Missing Children incident Part 2, The Bite of 83, The Bite of 87, FNAF 3's firing, FNAF 6 firing. So he's going to need a new image for the public eye. Thus enter Help Wanted, the story, not the game. Indie developers that will make games to make light of what happened. And once small games come out, Burroughs will then be pushing for a VR game. Knowing Burroughs to be cheap and, well, disrespectful to the creative team, he would actually be the one responsible for the old junk, the motherboards on the animatronics, to speed up the process, with the additional bonus of a digital copy of the man who committed the missing children incident only for $9.99 extra. I mean, Fazbear Entertainment were still pushing for Help Wanted, the game, not the story, to push out, despite Jeremy cutting his own face off and trying to fire him because they thought he saw, quote-unquote, too much. So, I mean, like, Fazbear Entertainment getting a shady boss man? Not so different, man. Also, why would they build a Pizzaplex on top of FNAF 6 location? Well, my dear viewers and subscribers, it's quite simple. Saving money. I mean, FNAF 6, in a way, is theirs now. So why bother getting land and spending money when we can just tear down the remains of FNAF 6, steam over it with our building machines, and the Pizzaplex is born? Ain't nobody got time for a sinkhole. I don't pay you to think. Don't care about it. Go make my mall, please. Greedy at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. The only problem that I have with Burroughs being CEO, if this theory is to be led, is Vanessa. Why would Burroughs care for this one security guard to be so pushy about to get her in the role that she frankly don't deserve? Well, let's just say it wasn't Burroughs who did it. And a huge spoiler for the reason why, because in 3, 2, 1, he dead. Yeah, Burroughs is dead, giving William Afton, now Glitchtrap, to roam free. He is surfing through the web after all, and he only contact the outside people in Security Breach are emails. Like, we didn't see we don't see any more humans in Security Breach, but we do know they exist because of emails. The public wouldn't really know that Burroughs is dead because William wouldn't have killed him on public. All William needs to do is counting on the fact that people see Burroughs as face of company, while William, in a way, becomes CEO of this new era of FNAF. I guess you can say that William Afton borrowed the company from Burroughs. I hate myself for that horrible pun. And that's it. That's it. That's the end of this little series of mine. Not sure if I would ever merge these 3 videos together to make a long video, but who knows what the future holds for all of us. Regardless of what I think about game theory and their highs and lows about this whole franchise, I have nothing but respect for each member in the crew. I'm happy that MatPat got the FNAF timeline out of his mind, so he can now relax until FNAF Ruin DLC comes out, and that's just going to force him to come back, because we all know FNAF ain't going nowhere. I mean, the movie is coming out in October, so you know we're getting a film theory video on that one very soon. A life of Furious is a hard one. As we're closing this off, I want to say I thank all of you for taking the time watching this little series of mine. It means a lot coming from you guys. It would also mean a lot if you guys like the videos, so I know you guys enjoy. Comment down below if you think MatPat did a good job in this timeline. And subscribe, because original content is coming to the channel. This is OneGamer54, signing off.